Okay, you've purchased a stealth radar detector that's not detectable by Spectre, and you're driving in an area where radar detectors are banned or illegal, and you think you're safe from detection, right? Think again. Hi, my name is Robert. Some of you know me as the Veil Guy. I'm here representing Radar Busters. I have the pleasure of sitting next to the owner of Radar Busters, Victoria. If you've never seen her or met her, there you go. Say hi.
Good morning.
She's done some support for some of y'all. At any rate, hope you've been well, not affected by COVID or your family members. We've been doing great. And we've been doing a lot of traveling, actually. As a matter of fact, we took advantage of a little bit of the lull during waiting for the R8 to come in. And we actually went down to Australia for 7 weeks and just had an epic trip driving around the country, experiencing some of the traffic enforcement and things of that nature. It's a pretty tough country. And we're going to have a story about those experiences as well. But at any rate, we're going to tell a story that happened to us when we were traveling in Canada last year for about 5 weeks.
Which is where we're at today.
Yeah, we're and you're
still
going to
in
see
Canada.
we're at a McDonald's here, and there's a reason that we're at a McDonald's here in a part of Canada, one of the provinces, because this story took place in Canada. So it was terrifying at the time it happened, and now we can look back and sort of laugh at it, but it was a pretty touch and go situation there. So here it is. Her Mercedes had a mechanical issue, and we were stuck. We couldn't drive it, so we had to rent a white Toyota Camry. Right, which actually may have really helped save us from this encounter that we had. And we continued on to Nova Scotia, and ultimately ended up in Newfoundland. So it was just a terrific road trip. And if you know anything about us, we travel pretty extensively now. You never really got out with Radar Busters over the years, but anybody who knows me knows I love to travel the world. And so I was able to, with technology improvements, us being able to do work, or you being able to do work remotely, handle orders and customer concerns, things of that nature, it enables us to travel more. So,
Plus, we do a lot of testing
on
products. So just so you know, we spend hours and hours on the road in our travels doing the testing of all the products.
Right, and that's how you know how I like to test is in the real world, not stage tests. There are a lot of dynamics that take place in the real world that just aren't there and exist in controlled tests. So anyway, so here's the story. We were driving with, I think we had about 6 radar detectors, right? And on the eastern part, the Atlantic bubble, so to speak, of those, the provinces, radar detectors are illegal. And anybody who knows about the laws in the eastern part of Canada know they will confiscate them and they destroy them. Plus, they give you a sizable fine for each detector. And of course, if you're caught speeding, you're going to get your speeding violations. So the bottom line is you don't want to get ticketed or caught in Canada, especially with a radar detector.
And especially your speed.
Right, and anybody who knows anything about me knows that with a radar detector, I do drive fast, and I make no apologies about it. Some people may not like it. Especially, I think it's ironic that people who have radar detectors have criticized me for driving so fast, but which is a funny thing. I mean, if you're going to do it, go big or go home. That's what I say. And in our case, we often drive great distances.
Absolutely.
And when you're going above the speed limit, and you got a 14-hour, 15-hour trip according to Google Maps, and you can do it in 13 hours or 12 and a half. I mean, that time adds up. So anyway, so here we are. We're driving in one of the provinces, and the posted limit was 100 kilometers an hour.
Equals how much?
About 62 miles in the U.S. And on a highway, that's low. I mean, when you sort of get to some other provinces, it's 110. But we saw a sign in, was it Manitoba or was it the end of Ontario? Something like that, where the sign read, it was in French, I think, but if you're caught over 50 miles an hour more than the posted limit, and you're caught, I think the sign read, and we'll post it, a $10,000 fine.
Yes, there was limits of where you
Right.
what
I
your
don't know if
tickets
it
would
was
be.
a car confiscation or impounding of the car and serious demerit points for Canadian citizens, right? So the bottom line is you don't want to get caught speeding in Canada, especially if you have a radar detector. So anyway, getting to our story. So we're in an open area of the road. I think it was 3 lanes, and I have the Escort Redline 360C, which you guys know is completely undetectable. And so here we are driving, and I'm passing some vehicles, and I'm in the left lane, and I'm doing 160 kilometers
Right.
an hour. And the Toyota Camry that we rented can really move. I mean, it's a pretty comfortable car. And as I come around this bend to the right, there's an overpass up ahead, and there's I get hit with instant on K, bam, and I immediately brake. Obviously, if you have a radar detector and you get hit with IO, I mean, your first instinct is to brake hard. And sure enough, I see under the overpass a police vehicle that was like a pickup truck kind of thing, sitting perpendicular right underneath, and he was obviously shooting me. Now, I slow down, but from 160, I figured he got me. In fact, I knew he had gotten me. And I also knew that because of my reaction, as he immediately turned on his gun, and that I slowed down, that he knew that I had a radar detector, because there's no other way that I would know it, at a distance, other than if I had a detector and it went off. So I just didn't know if he knew that I knew that he knew that I had a radar detector. But I didn't leave anything to chance, and it's not my first time I've done this. I did what was the unexpected thing to do, which is I took the vehicle up to about 200 to 210 kilometers
Which is
an
what
hour.
in miles?
It's about 120 to 130,
Okay, right.
give or take, 125. And I figured that's something he wouldn't have expected, obviously. Most people, slow down, get in the right lane, and hope for the best, but we all know how that works. And so I knew the fine was going to be large. I knew we had 6 detectors in the car, plus this very expensive Redline 360C. And all the confiscation, $150 per detector, the speeding fine, it was not going to be a good situation. And we've had some big fines. We had one, and I know some of you have seen it in Nevada. I got nailed at 127 at 70. That was another story maybe we'll tell about from our side. But we were doxxed on that. A pretty funny video, and it's out there. But anyway, I didn't want that to happen again. So I took it up, and now Victoria, who doesn't have a lot of, but you've had some now good experience with me driving. So
yes, I did.
And she knows I'm very, not to say cautious, but very observant of surroundings, especially with police encounters. So I pick it up, and she's saying to me, Bob, you're overreacting. Don't worry about it.
Robert, just leave it alone.
Leave it alone. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I know. I'm nailed, and it's going to be extremely painful. So I book it up, hoping there's not another patrol vehicle up it, because then I'm really dead. But come up to the first exit. I get off the exit fast, come down to a stop sign at the end, and I barely even stop. I do like a Hollywood stop. Is that what they call it? California stop.
California stuff.
So, and I pulled to the right, and I went up to this intersection, the immediate intersection, and there was a petrol station and a McDonald's right
Together.
adjacent to it. And so I said, look, let's go. I didn't see any vehicles at the moment. We only had like a minute, 2 minutes to spare. I mean, we had to do this very quickly. And once you commit to something like that, you have to go all the way.
Right.
No half measure. It's got to be something you commit. And I'm not recommending for people to do that.
Oh, no.
Definitely not. But at any rate, so I go through the petrol station, and I go into the back of the McDonald's, and I park the vehicle, and I get out of the vehicle and head into the McDonald's. And Victoria, as usual, takes her time getting out of the car, particularly if she thinks I'm paranoid and what have you.
As I usually do.
I run into the McDonald's there, and I run into the bathroom. And fortunately, there was one stall, and I was not being used, so I got into the stall, and I locked the door, and I sat down on the loo, or the commode, and with the lid down, and just said, okay, I'm gonna camp out here for a while. So Now I'm blind. I don't know what's going on outside, but I know something's not going to be good. So what did you do? You finally did come in. Go ahead.
I went in, and then I sat down in McDonald's, and I saw a patrol car coming in and around, and eventually...
He came from the back too, right?
Yes,
so
he came to the
probably saw the vehicle, the white vehicle. Okay.
Which are a lot of white vehicles. There really are everywhere. And so I said, well, I didn't want to know what to do, so I just went in the restroom too, in the women's restroom.
And the patrol vehicle was different. It was a car, not a truck.
Right.
So obviously he must have gotten on the radio if he came out and didn't see us and put something out, and other cars were looking for us, right? So go ahead. So you come in, you go into the restroom.
And then I called Robert and I let him know that. And he goes,
then we're texting.
Yeah, no, and we're talking, texting, and I'm saying to him, well, you need to come out because, we can't stay here all day. And Robert said, no, I'll stay here all day.
I'll stay here all day until hell freezes over. I'm not coming out.
He's going, you need to go see what's going on. So I went out of the women's restroom, and as I turned, the men's restroom was next to the women's, and there was a police officer standing there with his arms folded. Standing
right by the door.
Now, during that time when I was texting
somebody
you,
had come
into your
try to open the stall. So I pretended like I was actually using the restroom and flushing the toilet and things of that nature. And I actually sat down instead of standing up, so my feet would look like somebody was legitimately using the bathroom. So she texted me, and she says there's a patrol vehicle pulling up. Or I think
no, I said the police officer's outside. I left the restroom, remember, and I said that there was an officer.
Yeah, my heart is racing now.
So I went outside, and there were tables outside in McDonald's, and I just sat there waiting, and I told Robert that, and I said, Robert, just come out. I just think we got to get on with this. And he's like, can't believe they're going to be a traitor, and
yeah, she said, come on out and give up
way.
your car. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We came this far. I'm going all the way with this. I am not coming out. I doubt that he had a good idea on me at the speed that I was going. But I figured he knew, and I don't know if he had video in his car. But
right. Some people think, I was throwing you under the bus.
Well, she threw me under the bus the last time in Nevada. Some felt.
No,
but anyway, it's all an act.
It's all in interpretation. And so the officer was there, and I told him that. And then Robert just stayed there until,
I don't know, 20, 30 minutes
later, and then the guy finally left.
He did leave.
And so Robert then did come out, and I went and got the laptop when I felt safe and brought it in, and we did some work for about an hour.
Yeah, we processed Radar Buster's orders.
Yeah. And sat there and waited.
Got some coffee, I think, and we just did the hell with it. We got to chill. And
the funny part is the next phase of this is that we leave there, and you want to disguise everything.
Right, and so we came out, and before I even get close to that car, because I figured that thing was hot, radioactive, so I'm looking all around thinking, okay, is a patrol vehicle, somewhere else in a parking lot, and eyeing who's going to come to that car.
Right.
So I was like, and now I'm really paranoid. I'm scanning all around trying to see, and I didn't see anything. So I figured, okay, well, maybe it's clear. So I get in the car, and I put my. Sometimes when I do, if I ultimately run or things of that nature, I'll change the profile of the car. So if the lights were off, I'll turn the lights on. If I'm wearing a colored shirt, I'll change the shirt. Right?
Or remove the shirt.
Yeah, in this case, I took my shirt off and I hung my handicap placard off, so you can see this big blue thing hanging off the rear view mirror. So anybody looks at the car, they can say, well, that's not how it was described. So I'm just playing every angle I can, and I think I turned the lights on this time. So anyway, so there was no way in God's green earth that I was going to get back on that highway and continue, figuring they're going to be swarming looking for this car on the highway. So I said, let's look at it, and I bring up Google Maps, and I see there's a secondary road, and I figured, the parallels almost the highway, and so I continue on my direction going that way. And sure enough, we come through a small town. And there is a police station, which is probably where those guys were stationed, same color vehicles or whatever, and there was a police patrol vehicle pulling out of the parking lot, waiting to turn onto the road as I passed. And I'm thinking, oh my Lord. but he didn't pay attention. He didn't really notice anything, and we continued on our merry way. And we were very close to the border of the province. And once we crossed over, we figured these are provincial at the most, like a state police, and they're not going to continue on. So we ultimately did get back on the highway and continued. And
Kind of felt like a Bonnie and Clyde type of
right.
situation.
I don't know. Had you ever
However-
really been with me when I took off from a traffic stop or a potential?
No, not particularly. But I've been on several long, fast.
Right. And so, for the record, was I paranoid?
Um,
That's an easy
That's
answer.
yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be paranoid? Because I mean, that situation is stressful, especially if you're going to you're going to lose your detector and your testing.
Fines,
and,
yeah, it would have been
But-
several thousands of
Right.
dollars, and plus the loss of the detector. So,
But I'm more of a by the law type of person, so I.
and
like,
she's in the business of selling radar detectors. So, go figure. I'm a user. She's a retailer. So go figure.
There you go.
But-
I sell, he work. He
So
tests.
that's the story. It's all true, no exaggeration, and we were very, very lucky. So I don't advise or recommend anybody try it, because if you get caught,
You're in big trouble.
you're in big trouble. So I try to play the odds when they're not behind you or putting on the lights, so there's that plausible deniability. Well,
Right.
I didn't know you were going after us, and if nobody's there, they really don't know the speed you were
Right,
going. But
exactly.
we're talking a matter of minutes, literally, between the time I had gotten lit up with radar and the time that officer pulled in. So, very small window of opportunity, and I think we just got it by the skin of our teeth. So anyway, that story, the whole point of the story is to share with you that driving with a stealth detector is absolutely no guarantee. In fact, it could be a little riskier for you as a driver if you're driving with a radar detector in an area where they're banned, because you'll have a false sense of security. Now, you all know that Spectre is how it's mostly used to detect radar detectors, conventional radar detectors. But a couple things about Spectre. When we were in Australia, we have a mate of ours that I've known for years that has been a real strong protagonist to Stalker, which is the product there, or Stealth Microsystems, the company. They're located outside of Brisbane. We were there in Brisbane. The company is not in operation anymore. So the Spectre units themselves are not really being serviced. And we have a friend of ours who is a retired Virginia State Trooper, and they're actually being forced to try to repair those units themselves. And they're very sensitive pieces of electronics, and they can fail or false. So, I think less and less you're going to see these detectors. And the officer, as I found out personally, what they're going to do is how they used to do it before Spectre made them lazy, waiting for people to go by and alarm them. They'll hit you with, all they need to do is hit you with IO, instant on radar, and if you immediately react and slow down, they're going to see that, and they're going to know, obviously, you have a radar detector. So that's the moral of the story. We were driving, where were we? Were we in Manitoba just recently? Because we were on this trip again, doing
A different way.
the other parts. So we've gone from Ontario to Manitoba to Saskatchewan, and now we're in Alberta. We touched British Columbia yesterday, and now we're going to be heading south. So we're just outside of Calgary. But
Testing a detector.
yeah, we are actually been driving with the new Whistler Titan, and I'm really endeared to this radar detector. It's by far the best radar detector they've ever made. DSP, and we've configured it, and I think I've linked in our review of the Titan our recommended configurations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've recommended the Whistler to make it the default setting,
Yes.
and the detector is extremely quiet, and it's done quite well. We've seen some K-band from some local yokels, and on the highway we've seen 35.5 and 34.7. And one of those encounters, we were north, coming over Lake Superior, heading to Thunder Bay, I think, and I think the posted limit's 110. Maybe it's 100, whatever it was.
Right.
And I was doing about 130 to 140, so that's typically what I've been doing. And another vehicle was coming at me, and it was a SUV type, and I got hit with K. Now I have the Titan is not stealth, but it's much harder to detect than all the other whistlers that preceded it. So I generally mount, when I'm in a country or a place where they're banned, the radar detector against the A pillar, low on the dash, like almost behind the registration stickers, if you have them, inspection stickers. So, and then I even threw a little bit of a white cloth up there to sort of cover it. So, I figured if we ever get called, I could pull the detector, leave the cloth there, and we're basically obscuring the detector. So anyway, we get hit with K, and I slow down, but I don't brake hard because I remembered that experience. So I just backed off, figuring he's probably going to get my speed. He may already have had my speed, but at least in such a fashion that it wouldn't seem like, okay, this is obvious he's got a radar detector.
Right.
And as he went by, he turned on his lights. I figured we were going to get nailed just as he was passing us, but then he kept going. So I assume it was a warning. That's what he was doing. So I backed it off a bit before I picked it up again. So anyway, again, the moral of the story is driving with a stealth detector is no guarantee of not being detected with a radar detector. So I'm imploring everybody to be mindful of that. Don't get a false sense of security, and just think about the consequences. And in Australia, it's really bad. Laser jammers, radar detectors, and I got to tell you, we're going to tell you stories about Australia when we were driving. Australia puts them all to shame insofar as how strict they are with speed enforcement and their penalties. It's just outrageously crazy.
We'll do that on
we'll do that on another video. So anyway, that's the story. I've been talking about sharing this experience, and I hope you get it. Stealth detectors are no guarantee of not being detected. So travel safely about that. So anyway, we appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe to Radar Busters
and hit the little bell.
YouTube channel, little bell. We've been, there's been a lot of changes at Radar Busters, a lot of things we've had to do, and we're behind the curve on social media. We've been for years, and we're going to help ultimately get a Facebook page up, and we're going to have more of these stories, more reviews, more real-world encounters, and even some product giveaways for those who subscribe.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we appreciate and thank you for watching. We wish you to be safe. God bless, and take care. We'll see you again.
And remember,
what? Drive safe, drive smart. Most importantly,
drive protected.
Drive protected. See you.
Bye.
I hope this video was informative to you, and if so, please give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe, as we will have more videos coming your way. Also, be sure to visit radarbusters.com. They have expert support staff that can help you determine what are the best countermeasure solutions for your particular driving circumstances. Thanks for watching, and remember to drive safe, drive smart, but most importantly, drive protected.